Hey everyone, I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. And today we're talking about Monsters of Loch Lomond. This is a Kickstarter game designed by Peter Jan Vanderbeek and Robin Stockel.
In Monsters of Loch Lomond, you have a clan, and you're the leader of that clan. And you're flipping cards over to find monsters, hopefully exiling them from your clan, maybe even sending them to another clan. And
trying to have the least points as possible at the end of the round.
Yeah.
So, this game, obviously with the title of it, Monsters of Loch Lomond, and other different cards, are steeped in Scottish lore. So there's stuff like Kelpies and Selkies and the Bronze Seer. I can't remember, there's some other things that I'm not thinking of. But it's a very thematic card game, and if you are familiar with the card game Golf, it's very similar to that, but it has some different twists.
I wouldn't say very similar. I would say it's...
Well, okay, no.
If you know Golf, you would get the base rules of this.
Yes, you get the base rules of it, but there's twists and other levels of play added into it to make it more, like, nostalgic, but fresh, I guess you would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, like, I grew up playing lots of different card games, and Golf was one of those, and so when I read the rules, I'm like, oh, okay, this is like Golf,
yep.
But cooler.
But unlike Golf, you only have 4 cards out in front of you, all face down, and you know 2 of the cards.
That's how I played.
Well...
Yeah.
I meant Golf. The only 4 cards is different than Golf. Golf usually has more cards that I remember.
There's lots of variations.
Sure.
But yes, your clan is made up of 4 cards, and then you only get to look at 2 of them, and then the rest is just all throughout the game. You're hoping to remember, keep track. Some cards may be revealed or not.
Yep, and the game's really simple. You draw a card either from the deck or from the discard pile, and then you decide to switch out a card from your clan with that card that you drew. If you did draw a card from the top of the deck and you don't want to use it, you put it in the discard pile, and some of the cards have a special ability on the bottom, and you would execute that ability.
And sometimes those abilities will let you, like, swap cards from people, or even, like, peek at your cards or your opponent's cards. And then there's also a twist of, you know, maybe you discard a card, you're like, oh, no, I don't want this card, or you swap it out, but maybe someone else has that card in their clan, they can yell shoo, or if you're getting rid of a card that you also have in your clan, you can yell shoo, and there's a way to, like, get rid of cards, so, like, maybe I'll have less cards to deal with, or maybe my opponent will be able to get rid of a card, but then I can give them a card. So there's just a lot of different things going on when you're playing it. And so when I played Golf growing up, like, when you think that you're... Golf, the card game.
Point of contention here.
Anyway, well, no, when
Point of contention between us.
When you think you have the lowest score, you would knock. And then everybody would go one more turn. In Monsters of Loch Lomond, you yell, Sorsha! And then your cards are frozen, and everybody else can take their turn. So, like, he can't manipulate my cards anymore. Mine are set, but you could manipulate other people's.
But the rest of the players can be manipulated.
Yes.
And then, once everybody takes their last turn, you reveal your cards, if they're not already revealed. Yeah. And whoever has the lowest score, well...
Yeah, the lowest score.
Whoever has the lowest score will win that round. However, you automatically lose the round if you have a monster left in your clan.
And if I'm the one who called Sorsha, and then I have the least amount, I get the victory token. I think are there 4?
Yeah, something like that.
There's 4 total. But, like, say if I was incorrect, then I did incorrect Sorsha, and I would get a penalty, I think, of some points. Or I just don't get the victory token. Yep. And then if you have monsters left over, that's also bad. So with scoring-wise, obviously monsters are the worst, so they have higher scores. There's some cards that can get you negative points.
And there's some cards that are monsters unless you have another card.
So, like, there's the Priest of Forvey. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Where they could be a monster, or if you have, a missionary in your clan, then he ends up being good to have. Or there's some push your luck aspect with, I think you had one of the cards, the eggs.
Ah, yes, the monster eggs.
Yeah, so there's a monster egg, where it's like, yeah, 3 points, which is not terrible, but not great. But if you have this at the end of the round, it says, at the end of the round, receive a baby monster token. You're like, well, I don't want any monsters. But the ability of this baby monster token says, in your turn, place the baby monster token face up in one of your opponent's clans. So then it's an extra card that they're going to have to deal with.
There's also, if you have a Brahan Seer.
Bronze Seer.
Okay, Bronze Seer. At the end, if you have that in your clan at the end of the round, you get stone tokens, and stone tokens allow you to look at cards that are face down in your clan. So it gives you a little more information.
I liked collecting the Bronze Seers because I like having that option. Because when I'm playing the game, so yeah, this is one of those stone tokens that you could switch it out and be like, oh, okay, I can check it out. Because I'm playing the game and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm doing so great. And I'm like, oh crap, I forgot what this card is and that card is. And
or
then they
someone switch cards.
Yes.
And you're like, well, I had a good card there, but now I don't know what that is.
Yeah, and like, I don't know what it is, but he knows. So it's like, well, I need to figure out what it is. So yeah, I liked getting the little seer stones. I like the idea of the monster eggs, but I feel like I would always, in the end, get rid of them because I'm like, I really need to get rid of points.
Mm-hmm.
Bryce, what he liked to do is give me monsters right when I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing great. I'm going to call Sorsha. And he's like, have a monster. I'm like, ah, curse you. Literally cursed you. So, anyway, we got a little bit sidetracked. So, I want to talk about the art for a little bit. So, when we were approached about doing a review of this, they're like, oh, it's Monsters of Loch Lomond. Here's a link. And I was like, well, I like Scottish stuff. So I was like, by the name, cool, okay. And then I looked online and looked at the art. I'm like, ooh, this is really cool. So I'm like, yeah, let's just try it out. And it was pretty nostalgic for me because I played tons of card games growing up. So I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. And I do like it. Like, it's not like, oh, novelty, like completely something new. But it takes something that I liked playing and makes it better and more thematic and pretty, which is very big in my book.
But there's a lot of card games that take something old that maybe families played with a deck of, 52 cards, like a normal card deck, and add some variation to rules. I'm thinking of a lot of Grandpa Beck's games.
Yeah.
Feel like they do that.
And those are, like, really easy to, like, play and, like, teach and...
Very approachable, especially, like, with my family. My parents aren't really gamers, but we did grow up playing things like golf and different things with a deck of cards. And so, this is very approachable for people like them.
Yeah, this would be an easy game to be like, oh, we're going to a family function. We're just going to hang out with a couple friends. They don't really play games, but they're familiar with some card games. Bam, I'd take this one. I almost brought it. We went to and did some family stuff today, and I'm like, should we bring a card game? And I was like, thinking about bringing this one. So now I want to talk about like the replayability factor. So obviously you have set cards in this game and set ways that your clan is set up. And so it's like, is there really enough replayability? With what we have for the prototype right now, I think it is pretty good. I'm not going to say much, but I believe there's going to be more stuff coming in the campaign, which I think will be a great addition to the game. The more cards, the better in this case, because then you can maybe like do different, I don't know, like different monsters and other abilities, yeah. And there are a couple variations that they suggested in the rule book that you could try out for like more advanced players. But yeah, I'm all for having more cards and looking forward to it.
I will say, it felt like a lot of because again, this is a prototype and we don't have maybe all the cards that are there, but it did feel like a lot of the abilities came up multiple times around, and it I don't want to say it didn't feel special when an ability came up, because it's like, oh, well, yeah, like I've seen a few of those cards come up already this round. So it's like, I don't necessarily have to use it for the ability. I can use it for something else, and there's probably another one coming, You
get familiar with it pretty quick. But that's also a good factor of, like, this isn't supposed to be a heavy-hitting card game. It's easy to familiarize yourself with it. So, it take it or leave it, depending on your views of that. But I think this is a great game that you can just get out and play really quickly. It's like a good opener for like a game night or playing with family who doesn't really play tons of games. You're like, well, there's not that much stuff to learn. There's a couple abilities and you play it.
And it's like, hey, remember that game we used to play? Well, here's just a game with a few different variations on the rules, and it's pretty easy to pick up.
Yeah, and then you play it over certain rounds to, like, you know, get the best score and, like, have the most victory tokens at the end. You can do that and keep track of, like, your actual scores from round to round. It's like, oh, well, I had -2 this time. Oh, crap, I have 13 this time. We would kind of keep track of numbers, but honestly, we just played just to have fun and be like, oh, yeah, I got the victory token. Or it's like, oh, ha, you called incorrect Sorsha, haha. Like, it's just fun.
Yeah, and yeah, we didn't take it too seriously. We could have been a lot more serious, got the paper out and tracked every single round and stuff. But,
yeah.
But yeah.
Do you have a favorite card?
I kind of like the Priest of 4V, whatever this is. Just because it adds an element of risk. You're like, well, I'm gonna try to keep this, and maybe I'll get a missionary, maybe I won't. Because
he starts as a monster, but if you get the missionary, then he becomes good. Then it's -3. Yeah, you like to collect those ones. I'm like, get rid of them now.
It could either be really bad because he's 8 points, which isn't the highest monster, but it's still pretty high. Or -3, which is one of the better negative points.
I have to admit, when I asked you what your favorite card was, I was thinking about the art, not the actual ability. So it's like, I like the Kelpie.
I mean, I like the art on a lot of these things. I think.
Yeah, like the Kelpie's cool with like all the underwater, like blue, greens. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked, but honestly, if you like light card games, something with a nostalgic factor, or if you like pretty art or Scottish themes, Monsters of Loch Lomond is a great recommendation. I've had a lot of fun with it, and I'm interested to see what other cards could be revealed during the campaign, what other abilities there could be.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so if you want to check this out, I'll put a link in the description below in the video, and you can check it out on Kickstarter. I'm Allison.
I'm Bryce, and we're Better Half Reviews.
Happy gaming!
Have fun!
And don't give me monsters.
Kelpie!